They called her quiet. They called her invisible. For months, Mina Tran worked the worst shifts at a community hospital, cleaning, restocking, staying out of the way, while louder voices took credit and control. Doctors ignored her. Colleagues underestimated her. No one asked where she learned to stay so calm when lives were on the line. Until one night, a crisis pushed the hospital beyond its limits. Protocols failed, authority cracked, and the nurse everyone overlooked stepped forward, not to prove a point, but to save lives. What followed changed a powerful surgeon, transformed an entire emergency room, and revealed a truth most people forget. The most dangerous mistake isn't ignoring the loudest voice in the room. It's ignoring the quiet one. At Harborview Community Hospital, invisibility wasn't a metaphor. It was a job description. On the overnight shift, the fluorescent lights hummed with a tired persistence, casting everything in the same pale glow. Faces, floors, clipboards, hopes. The kind of light that made time feel sticky, like it refused to move unless you forced it. That was where Mina Tran lived. She stood near the nurse's station, hands folded loosely in front of her, shoulders slightly rounded. Not from weakness, but from habit. The habit of making herself smaller, of taking up just enough space to be useful, but never enough to be noticed. Mina had been at Harborview for 3 months and 12 days, long enough for everyone to decide who she was. She's quiet. She's slow. She's probably not cut out for ER work. Someone had started calling her the gray shadow. It stuck. Mina worked the shifts no one wanted. Graveyard, holidays, rainy Tuesdays when the city seemed to exhale all its brokenness into the emergency room at once. She cleaned gurneys, stocked supply carts, wiped down waiting room chairs still warm from exhaustion and fear. And she listened. She listened to the rhythm of the department, the rise and fall of voices, the subtle change in the pitch of monitors, the way panic sounded different from pain if you knew how to hear it. Most people didn't. At 3:17 a.m., the ER smelled like antiseptic, old coffee, and wet asphalt. A storm pressed against the windows, rain streaking down the glass like it was trying to get inside. Mina checked the tracking board. Every bed full. 2 ambulances en route. Staffing thin, as usual. Tran. The voice cracked through the noise like a snapped cable. Dr. Logan Price stood at the counter, one manicured hand gripping a chart, the other gesturing sharply toward Trauma Bay 3. He looked exactly like the hospital brochures promised. Tall, confident, perfectly groomed, his white coat hanging just right. "Why hasn't the IV been adjusted yet?" he demanded. "I asked for fluids 10 minutes ago." Mina looked up calmly. "The patient has a history of fluid retention, doctor. His lung sounds were borderline. I was waiting for confirmation on—" "I didn't ask for a lecture," Logan snapped. "I asked for compliance." A few nearby nurses slowed their movements, pretending not to watch while absorbing every word. This was familiar. This was entertainment. Mina nodded. Understood. She turned and moved toward the supply room, steps measured, controlled. Behind her, she heard someone mutter, "She's too soft for this place." Inside the supply room, Mina closed the door gently. For just 1 second, the mask slipped. Her eyes sharpened, not angry, not afraid, but focused in a way that didn't belong to a beginner nurse. She inhaled slowly, counting in 4s. A breathing pattern she'd learned long before Harborview, long before Portland, long before scrubs and name badges. She adjusted the IV equipment with practiced precision, setting it to the safest rate. She knew exactly how far she could go without triggering alarms. exactly how much room there was between protocol and harm. This was the third time that week she'd quietly corrected a mistake no one else had caught. When she returned to the floor, chaos arrived on schedule. The automatic doors burst open as paramedics rushed in with a patient from a construction site accident. Dehydration, blunt trauma, altered vitals. Voices overlapped. Orders flew. The room surged with movement. Logan stepped into command mode instantly. "Trauma 1! Move!" Mina backed against the wall, becoming part of the background again. As the gurney passed, she noticed something. Not the obvious injury, not the monitor, something subtler. The patient's foot, slightly rotated, the color of the skin below the knee, the way the pulse weakened, not gradually, but unevenly. Her jaw tightened. This wasn't right. "Doctor," Mina said, not loudly but clearly, "there's compromised circulation in the lower extremity." Logan didn't look at her. "Stay in your lane." Mina glanced at the clock. 90 seconds. She didn't decide. Her body did it for her. Mina moved. To the outside observer, it looked sudden. One moment she was against the wall. The next, she was at the foot of the bed, already working. Her movements were efficient, decisive, stripped of hesitation. "Hey, what are you doing?" someone shouted. Mina didn't look up. She applied pressure, adjusted positioning, stabilized blood flow with practiced certainty. Her voice, when she spoke, was steady and unrecognizable. "Circulation loss was primary," she said. "Secondary issues were masking it." The room went silent. Monitors stabilized. Numbers climbed. Logan stared. For a moment, the version of Mina everyone thought they knew disappeared completely. Then, just as quickly, she stepped back. Her shoulders rounded again. Her gaze dropped. The gray shadow returned. "I'll finish restocking," she said quietly, as if nothing unusual had happened. No one stopped her. But something had shifted. That night, as Mina mopped the waiting room floor, rain still drumming against the windows, she felt it, the subtle tightening in the air. The sense that a line had been crossed, not by her, by fate. She finished her work, rinsed the mop, and checked the time. 3:58 a.m. Somewhere above the city, clouds rolled heavier. Somewhere closer than anyone realized, events were already aligning, quietly, relentlessly. Mina Tran pushed the cleaning cart back into the closet and turned off the light. She didn't know it yet, but this was the last night she would be invisible. By morning, Harborview Community Hospital had decided to forget what happened. That was how institutions survived uncomfortable truths, by sanding them down until they fit neatly back into routine. The patient from the construction accident stabilized and was transferred upstairs. The monitors went quiet. The night shift handed off to day staff. And by 7:12 a.m., the emergency department had resumed its familiar rhythm of controlled urgency and practiced indifference. But not everyone forgot. Dr. Logan Price stood at the edge of Trauma 1, staring at the now empty bed as if it might explain itself if he waited long enough. His reflection hovered in the glass doors. Perfect hair, pristine coat, a man accustomed to certainty. And yet, something gnawed at him. He replayed the moment in his head, the way the numbers changed, the way the room went silent, the way she moved. Mina Tran. The name irritated him more than it should have. Logan had spent years building authority in that room. Authority didn't like competition, especially from someone who wasn't supposed to have any. By noon, the whispers started. "Did you see what the quiet nurse did last night? I heard she jumped in without permission." Logan was furious. Mina heard them too. She was in the records room, filing intake forms, the hum of the copier steady and dull. Her new assignment? Temporary, they'd said. A cooling-off period. No trauma bays, no critical care. Paperwork and supply checks only. She accepted it without protest. Naomi, the charge nurse, leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. She'd worked at Harborview long enough to spot patterns. She'd laughed at Mina before. She wasn't laughing now. "You didn't have to do that," Naomi said quietly. Mina didn't look up. "Do what?" "Make him look bad." Mina slid a folder into place, aligning the edges perfectly. "I didn't." Naomi sighed. "You know how this works. You don't touch a case unless Logan says so." "I touched it because it needed touching," Mina replied. That made Naomi uncomfortable. She shifted her weight. "Where did you learn to see things like that?" Mina paused for half a second. Then, "I read." Naomi studied her, searching for sarcasm. She found none, just truth, delivered plainly. "Be careful," Naomi said. "This place doesn't like surprises." Neither did Mina. That afternoon, Mina was called to administration. The office smelled like lemon cleaner and expensive furniture polish. Mr. Caldwell, the hospital administrator, sat behind his desk, hands folded, face neutral in the way men learned when they believed neutrality equaled fairness. Logan sat beside him. "Mina," Caldwell began, "we need to discuss last night." Mina stood straight, hands at her sides. "Yes, sir." Logan leaned forward. "You overstepped." "I intervened," Mina said. "You acted without authorization." "I acted within patient safety." Caldwell raised a hand. "Regardless of intent, protocol matters. Chain of command matters." Mina nodded once. "Understood." Logan smirked. "You got lucky." Mina met his eyes for the first time. There was no challenge there, just calm. "The patient lived," she said. Caldwell cleared his throat. "We're placing you on restricted duties for 2 weeks. Non-clinical tasks only." A piece of paper slid across the desk. Mina signed it without hesitation. That surprised them both. As she turned to leave, Logan added, "You need to remember your place." Mina stopped at the door. "My place," she said evenly, "is wherever I'm needed." She walked out before either man could respond. The waiting room that evening was crowded. A crying toddler, an elderly man coughing into a paper mask, a teenager pacing with nervous energy. Mina pushed a mop across the floor, her movements smooth, methodical. To anyone watching, she looked exactly like what they thought she was: a helper, a background character. Her phone vibrated once in her pocket. She ignored it. It vibrated again, then a third time, short, deliberate. Mina froze. That pattern wasn't random. It was intentional. She slipped the phone out, keeping it shielded by her sleeve. The number was unfamiliar. The message was only 3 words. "Are you available?" Mina's thumb hovered over the screen. She thought of the clipboard in Logan's hand, the paper she'd signed, the mop water sloshing quietly at her feet. She typed back 1 word. "Yes." The reply came instantly. "Stand by." Mina exhaled slowly, the way she used to before something difficult. Outside, sirens wailed faintly in the distance. The city moved on, unaware that its quiet hospital was about to become something else entirely. Logan passed through the waiting room, laughing into his phone, bragging about a golf score to someone who mattered more to him than anyone here. He didn't notice Mina watching him, not with resentment, but with a strange, distant clarity. She wasn't angry. She was ready. On the television mounted in the corner, the local news broke into regular programming: a chemical spill near the river, Emergency crews mobilizing, officials urging calm. Mina's gaze sharpened. She recognized the way the responders moved. The spacing, the caution. Her phone vibrated again. ETA 10 minutes. Mina set the mop aside. The floor gleamed where she'd cleaned it, perfect, reflective, like glass. She looked at her reflection for a brief moment. The quiet nurse, the gray shadow. Then she turned toward the elevators. Some walls were about to break. The elevators at Harborview Community Hospital were old. They groaned when they moved, as if each ascent required negotiation. Mina Tran stood inside one, alone, eyes fixed on the glowing numbers above the doors. 4, 5, 6. Her phone was quiet now. That bothered her more than the vibration. She hadn't told anyone where she was going. She hadn't asked permission. She hadn't raised her voice. But the decision had already been made the moment she typed, "Yes." The doors slid open on the 7th floor. Administration, pharmacy, restricted access. The carpet was clean up here, untouched by blood or spilled coffee. The air smelled faintly of lemon and paper, a different world from the emergency department below. "Mina?" Paul, the night pharmacist, looked up from behind the counter, surprise flickering across his face. He was a cautious man, the kind who triple-checked signatures and once delayed pain medication because a form had the wrong date. "You're not assigned up here," he said. Mina stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Paul, I need the sealed response kit." Paul blinked. "The chemical reserve? That requires—" "Override," Mina said calmly. "Protocol Alpha 6. The color drained from Paul's face. "That's not— How do you know?" "Please," Mina interrupted, not harshly, but with a gravity that made the word heavier than any threat. "We don't have time." Paul hesitated. The hospital had trained him for procedures, not moments like this. But something in Mina's eyes, focused, certain, cut through his resistance. He unlocked the cabinet. Mina checked the contents quickly. Atropine auto-injectors, protective masks, saline, exactly where it should be. Her phone vibrated again. 5 minutes. "Clear trauma 1 and 2, Mina said, already turning away. "Seal ventilation to negative pressure. Call it a city directive if anyone argues." Paul swallowed. "Who are you, really?" Mina paused. "Someone who doesn't like being late," she said. She didn't wait for his response. The stairwell door to the roof was locked. Mina didn't slow. She used her shoulder. The impact controlled, precise. The latch cracked, metal giving way with a sharp snap. Cold air slammed into her face as she stepped onto the roof. It was a mess. Old pallets. Loose gravel. A rusted gurney shoved against the wall like it had been forgotten on purpose. The helipad markings were faded, the paint peeling under years of neglect. Mina exhaled through her nose. Of course. She dragged the pallets aside, muscles working efficiently beneath her scrubs. She shoved the gurney toward the stairwell, ignoring the scrape of metal against concrete. Time compressed into a narrow tunnel of motion and intent. Footsteps echoed behind her. "What are you doing?" Mr. Caldwell burst onto the roof, breathless, followed by 2 security guards and Dr. Logan Price. Logan's face was flushed, his expression somewhere between anger and disbelief. "She's destroying hospital property," Logan snapped. "Remove her." The guards approached cautiously. "Ma'am," one said, "you need to come with us." Mina checked her watch. 2 minutes. "Stay back," she said. One guard reached for her arm. Mina didn't strike him. She stepped inside his movement, redirected his balance, and guided him to the ground with controlled force. He landed hard, but unharmed. The second guard froze. Mina didn't look at them. She looked at the sky. A low vibration rolled across the rooftop. Not sound yet, but pressure. The kind that settled in the chest before the ears caught up. Logan frowned. What is that? Then they heard it. The thump, slow, heavy, relentless. Logan's bravado cracked. Is that? Inside, Mina said sharply. Now! The helicopter appeared over the building's edge like a shadow tearing itself free from the clouds. Matte dark. No hospital markings. It hovered instead of landing. Rotor wash slamming into the rooftop with brutal force. Dust and debris spiraled upward. Caldwell stumbled, falling to his knees. Mina stood her ground. The side door slid open. 4 figures jumped down, movements tight, coordinated. They carried a 5th between them, wrapped in protective gear. The team leader stopped in front of Mina. Even over the roar, his voice was clear. Tran. Not nurse, not ma'am, just her name. We're compromised, he said. Exposure confirmed. Mina nodded once. Follow me. No one touches anyone else. Behind her, Logan stared, mouth open. Inside the stairwell, the noise cut off abruptly. The silence was jarring. They moved fast. The ER doors burst open, and the room froze. Patients, nurses, doctors, all eyes locked onto the impossible sight of a quiet janitorial nurse leading a specialized response team through Trauma 1. Clear the room, Mina ordered. Masks on, now. No one argued. Logan ran up beside her. You can't just take over. Mina turned to him, eyes level. Then stop me. He didn't. Inside Trauma 1, the patient was placed on the bed. Mina worked with crisp authority, directing hands, assigning tasks, explaining only what was necessary. Airway compromised, she said. Prep ventilation support. Naomi stood in the doorway, pale. Mina, what is this? Mina didn't look away from the patient. A situation that doesn't care about job titles. She administered the antidote with steady hands. The monitors spiked, then dipped. For a breathless moment, the room held still. Then the heart rhythm stabilized. A collective exhale rippled through the room. The team leader leaned against the wall, sweat streaking his face. You always were good under pressure. Mina allowed herself one small breath. Logan stared at the monitors, then at her. Who are you? He whispered. Mina pulled off her gloves slowly. I'm the nurse you told to stay in her lane, she said. Outside, sirens echoed louder now. The city was waking up to the emergency. Inside Harborview, something fundamental had shifted. Mina looked around the room, at Naomi, at Paul, who had followed them down, at Logan, whose authority lay cracked on the floor like broken glass. This isn't over, she said quietly. She was right. The emergency department didn't return to normal after the patient stabilized. It pretended to. The monitors kept beeping. Stretchers rolled in and out. Phones rang. But beneath the surface, something had cracked, and everyone felt it. The kind of crack you couldn't tape over with procedure or hierarchy. Mina Tran stood at the sink outside Trauma 1, washing her hands slowly. Water ran pink, then clear. She dried them with a paper towel and dropped it into the bin. Her movements measured, almost ceremonial. Behind her, voices whispered. That wasn't standard. Who cleared her to do that? Did you see the way those guys followed her? Dr. Logan Price hovered near the nurse's station, staring at a blank chart as if it had personally betrayed him. His authority, so carefully curated, had been punctured in front of everyone who mattered. Naomi approached Mina, hesitating as though crossing an invisible line. Mina, she said quietly, Administration wants you upstairs. Now. Mina nodded. I figured. She walked past Logan without a glance. The conference room on the 7th floor felt colder than the rest of the building. Frosted glass walls, long table, bottled water no one touched. Mr. Caldwell sat at the head, jaw tight, flanked by legal counsel and a woman Mina didn't recognize. Tailored suit, government posture. Logan arrived last. Let's get this over with, he said, forcing a smile that didn't land. Caldwell folded his hands. Mina, your actions today, while effective, were extraordinary. That's one word for it, Logan muttered. Caldwell ignored him. You violated access restrictions, commandeered clinical space, and issued directives without authorization. Mina listened without reacting. The woman in the suit spoke for the first time. Ms. Tran, before we continue, are you currently affiliated with any federal response units? Silence fell. Logan scoffed. She's a nurse aide. Look at her badge. Mina reached up, unclipped her ID, and placed it on the table. It read, Mina Tran, Patient Support Services. She met Caldwell's eyes. That badge tells you where I work, not who I am. The woman in the suit studied her closely. Then who are you? Mina exhaled. Not a sigh, a release. I was trained to operate in environments where mistakes don't get appealed, she said. Where titles don't save lives, competence does. Logan leaned forward. This is absurd. A knock interrupted him. The door opened, and 2 men entered. They moved with the quiet confidence of people used to being obeyed. One of them carried a slim folder. The other scanned the room, eyes lingering on Mina with something like recognition. Apologies for the interruption, the man with the folder said. We were told to find Mina Tran. Caldwell stood halfway. And you are? City Emergency Oversight, the man replied smoothly. We're here because of a call placed from this facility during a restricted incident. All eyes turned to Mina. She didn't deny it. The man opened the folder and slid a document across the table. We ran a routine background check. Logan laughed sharply. Good. Maybe now we can, the man continued. Ms. Tran, your previous certifications are extensive. He glanced up. Advanced trauma response, hazardous exposure mitigation, command level triage. Logan's laugh died in his throat. The second man spoke. You've been off-grid for a while. Mina nodded. By choice. Caldwell looked between them, color draining from his face. You knew? I didn't want to be known, Mina said simply. The woman in the suit closed her notebook. This facility nearly mishandled a city-level emergency today. Logan shot to his feet. We handled it. Mina turned to him, calm and unflinching. No, we survived it. That landed. The men excused themselves, leaving the room heavy with unsaid things. Caldwell rubbed his temples. This changes things, he said quietly. Logan stared at Mina, disbelief curdling into something uglier. You lied. I omitted, Mina replied. There's a difference. Caldwell cleared his throat. For now, you're relieved of restricted duties, effective immediately. Logan spun toward him. You're rewarding this? I'm preventing a lawsuit, Caldwell said flatly, and possibly worse. Mina picked up her badge and clipped it back on. I don't want special treatment, she said. I want clarity. Caldwell hesitated. About what? Whether this hospital values outcomes, Mina said, or egos. Logan opened his mouth. No sound came out. Mina turned to leave. In the hallway, Naomi waited. What happened? She asked. Mina offered a small, tired smile. I told the truth. Naomi studied her. Are you staying? Mina looked down the corridor toward the ER, toward the noise, the mess, the need. For now, she said. As she walked back onto the floor, conversation stopped. Eyes followed her, not with mockery now, but uncertainty. Logan stood frozen near Trauma 1, watching her pass. Mina paused beside him. You're a good surgeon, she said quietly. When you listen. Then she kept walking. Outside, the storm finally broke. Sunlight filtered through the windows, thin and hesitant. Harborview had a choice to make, and so did Mina. Power doesn't disappear when it's challenged. It resists. Dr. Logan Price learned that the hard way. By the following evening, Harborview Community Hospital buzzed with attention that had nothing to do with patient volume. Everyone knew something had shifted, but no one knew how far it would go, or who would pay the price for it. Logan stood in his office, staring at the reflection in the darkened window. His name was still on the door. His credentials still hung on the wall. On paper, nothing had changed, but the room no longer felt like it belonged to him. Down in the emergency department, Mina Tran moved through the chaos with quiet purpose. She wasn't issuing commands. She wasn't taking a central position. She was doing what she had always done. Watching, listening, stepping in where needed. Only now, people noticed. Vitals trending down in Bay 4, a nurse called out. I've got it, Mina replied, already there. Naomi watched her from the station, something like respect softening her expression. You ever think about taking charge? She asked. Mina adjusted a blood pressure cuff. I think about getting people home alive. That answer lingered. The next ambulance arrived without warning. Middle-aged man, chest pain, shortness of breath, a history of cardiac issues. Routine until it wasn't. As the patient was transferred, Mina caught the flicker in his eyes. The way his breathing stuttered, not from pain, but from panic. The faint tremor in his hands. She felt it immediately. This isn't just cardiac, she said quietly. Logan arrived at her shoulder. We'll run the standard protocol. Mina didn't argue. She just stayed. The patient's heart rate spiked, then dipped. Oxygen levels dropped unexpectedly. Logan frowned. That doesn't make sense. Mina leaned closer to the monitor. He's reacting to something. Check his medication list. A nurse pulled it up. New prescription, started today. Mina's jaw tightened. Allergic reaction. Logan hesitated. No hives, no swelling. Not all reactions announce themselves, Mina said. The room waited. Logan made a decision. Administer antihistamines. It helped, but not enough. The patient gasped, panic flooding his face. I can't. Mina stepped forward. We need to secure his airway. Logan turned to her sharply. That's a big call. So is waiting, Mina replied. For a moment, Logan saw it. The thing Caldwell had warned him about. The difference between authority and command. He nodded once. Do it. Mina didn't rush. She explained each step calmly, assigning tasks with quiet confidence. The team moved as one, not because she demanded it, but because they trusted her. The airway stabilized. Oxygen levels climbed. The patient exhaled in relief. Logan stepped back, hands trembling just slightly. Afterward, in the corridor, he caught up to Mina. You were right, he said. It tasted bitter, but he said it anyway. Mina met his gaze. You listened. That mattered. Logan studied her. You don't want my job. No, Mina said honestly. I want the job done right. Later that night, Caldwell called them both into his office. We can't keep pretending this is temporary, Caldwell said. The staff responds to Mina. The city noticed today's save. We need structure. Logan stiffened. You're sidelining me. I'm balancing the room, Caldwell replied. Effective immediately, Mina will act as operational lead during high-risk cases. Silence. Mina spoke first. I didn't ask for that. I know, Caldwell said. That's why I'm offering. Logan's pride flared. This is my department. Mina turned to him. Then help me protect it. The words weren't an attack. They were an invitation. Logan looked away. That night, Mina stood alone in the locker room, staring at her reflection. The gray shadow was gone. In its place stood someone heavier, carrying not just skills, but responsibility. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Mina Tran, a voice said. This is emergency coordination. We have a situation developing outside city limits. We may need you. Mina closed her eyes. Give me time, she said. She looked back toward the ER, toward Naomi, toward Logan, toward a hospital learning how to breathe again. I'll be ready, she added. And for the first time, she wasn't sure which life she was choosing. The parking lot outside Harborview was nearly empty when Mina stepped out into the night. The rain had stopped, leaving the asphalt slick and reflective. City lights smeared across the ground like spilled paint. She stood there for a moment, breathing in the cool air, letting the noise of the hospital fade behind her. Her phone was still warm in her hand. She hadn't called back yet. Inside, the emergency department kept moving. Patients cycling through, alarms chiming, Naomi's voice steady at the charge desk. Logan was still there too, sleeves rolled up, doing the work instead of directing it. For the first time since Mina had arrived, the department felt functional, and that made the choice harder. The phone vibrated again, same number. Mina answered. Tran, the voice said, calm, professional, no wasted syllables. We're escalating, Mina closed her eyes. How bad? Not catastrophic, the voice replied. Yet. But if it goes wrong, it won't stay small. She leaned against her car. Where? 40 miles east. Industrial water treatment facility. Containment breach. Air quality unstable. Civilian responders are in place, but they're outside their comfort zone. Mina pictured it instantly. Protective suits, overlapping jurisdictions, people following checklists that hadn't been written for this exact scenario. You want me to advise? She said. We want you on site. There it was. Mina looked back at the hospital entrance. Through the glass, she could see movement. Stretchers, shadows, life continuing. She'd fought hard to build something here. Something fragile, but real. If I leave, she said carefully, I don't know when I'll be back. The voice didn't rush her. We understand. Silence stretched. Give me 10 minutes, Mina said. She hung up and went back inside. The ER hummed the way it always did at night, but now people looked up when she passed. Naomi caught her eye immediately. Something's wrong, Naomi said. Mina nodded. I have to step away. Logan overheard that. He crossed the room, brow furrowed. Step away from what? From here, Mina said. Temporarily, Logan's jaw tightened. You're leaving now? Yes. Naomi's voice dropped. After everything? Mina met her gaze. This is exactly because of everything. They moved into the hallway, away from patients. Logan crossed his arms. You can't keep doing this. Showing up, taking over, then disappearing. Mina studied him. You think I want to? He faltered. There are situations, Mina continued, where preparation matters more than position. Tonight, That's not here. Logan searched her face. Will they die without you? Mina didn't answer immediately. They might, she said finally. Or they might live with consequences that didn't need to happen. Naomi swallowed. So what happens to us? Mina reached out, squeezing Naomi's arm. You keep doing what you're doing. You're ready. She turned to Logan. And you listen. He scoffed weakly. That's it? That's your advice? No, Mina said. That's your test. For a moment, he looked like he might argue. Then he nodded. Go, he said. We'll manage. Mina didn't thank him. She just went to the locker room. She changed quickly. Comfortable clothes, hair pulled back tight. As she closed her locker, she paused, hand resting on the metal. She hadn't planned to come back to this life. She'd buried it under night shifts and silence, under mops and paperwork. But some calls didn't care about plans. Outside, a dark SUV waited near the curb, the engine idled, low and patient. The driver stepped out. Miss Tran. Mina climbed in. They drove east, the city thinning into long stretches of road lit by warning signs and flashing amber lights. In the distance, a faint haze hovered over the industrial complex. Containment tents glowed under floodlights. Responders moved carefully, slower than usual, every step deliberate. Mina stepped out, scanning the scene. She recognized the signs immediately. The uncertainty, the tension of teams operating just beyond their training. A local incident commander approached. We're glad you're here, he said. We're stable for now, but the models aren't agreeing. Mina took a tablet, flipping through data, wind direction, chemical profiles, response times. You've done the right things, she said. You just need clearer lanes. She began reorganizing, not barking orders, but asking precise questions. Who had authority over air monitoring? Who controlled evacuation decisions? Where were the gaps? Within minutes, the noise softened. People moved with more purpose. A young technician looked at her with awe. How do you know all this? Mina didn't look up. I learned by watching what happens when people guess. Hours passed. By dawn, containment held. No spread, no escalation. As the sun rose, pale and uncertain, Mina stood at the edge of the site, exhaustion finally settling into her bones. Her phone buzzed, a message from Naomi. We handled a rough case, listened like you said. Patient stable. Mina smiled faintly. Another message followed, from Logan. You were right. Again. Mina slipped the phone into her pocket. She didn't know what Harborview would look like when she returned, or if it would still need her in the same way. But for the first time, she understood something clearly. She didn't have to choose between worlds. She could be the bridge. Mina returned to Harborview on a quiet afternoon. No sirens, no breaking news banners, just the low, familiar churn of a hospital doing what it always did, holding the line between fear and hope, one patient at a time. She paused outside the automatic doors, watching reflections slide across the glass. For the first time since she'd arrived months ago, she hesitated. Not from doubt, but from awareness. Places changed when people did, and she wasn't sure what shape Harborview had taken while she was gone. Inside, the air felt different. Not calmer, not louder, just steadier. Naomi spotted her first. Mina, she said, the word carrying relief more than surprise. You're back. For now, Mina replied, smiling faintly. Naomi walked with her toward the nurse's station. You should know, after you left, things didn't fall apart. I hoped they wouldn't. They didn't, Naomi said. Logan didn't let them. That earned a glance, Logan stood near Trauma 2, sleeves rolled, chart tucked under one arm. He wasn't commanding the room. He was part of it, listening, asking, adjusting. When he noticed Mina, he didn't freeze or bristle. He nodded. Mina. Doctor. They stood there a moment, the unspoken space between them filled with everything they hadn't said before. I owe you, Logan finally said. Not for saving my department, for teaching me how to see it. Mina studied him, weighing sincerity the way she weighed vitals. You learned because you wanted to, she said. That matters. Logan exhaled, some old tension easing from his shoulders. Administration wants to see you. Of course they do. The meeting room was brighter this time, windows uncovered, chairs pulled closer together. Caldwell waited with a stack of reports, but no legal counsel, no government observers. We've had discussions, Caldwell began, about the last 2 weeks, about outcomes, staff morale, external response evaluations. Mina listened. Caldwell slid a single document across the table. We're creating a permanent role, emergency operations liaison. You'd oversee coordination during high-risk incidents, inside and outside the hospital. Mina didn't reach for the paper. I don't want to sit behind a desk. You wouldn't, Caldwell said quickly. You'd train teams, build protocols, step in when it matters. And Logan? Caldwell glanced at the door. Logan remains lead surgeon, with a clearer chain, shared authority. Mina considered that. Power shared carefully could save lives. Power hoarded never did. I'll think about it, she said. That evening, Mina walked the ER floor alone. She watched Naomi coach a new nurse through a difficult conversation. She watched Logan pause before speaking, then ask for input instead of issuing orders. Small changes, real ones. The room remembered what had happened here. So did the people. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Mina Tran, the voice said, older, measured. This is Regional Emergency Coordination. Mina leaned against a wall. I figured you'd call. We want you on retainer, the voice continued. Advisory capacity. Flexible deployment. Mina closed her eyes briefly. 2 worlds, both asking. I won't disappear, she said. If I say yes, we wouldn't expect you to. Later, she sat in the break room with a cup of untouched coffee staring at the bulletin board. Lost keys, potluck sign-ups, thank you notes taped crookedly. Naomi joined her. You deciding? Something like that. Naomi smiled. Whatever you choose, you changed this place. Mina shook her head. People change themselves. I just held up a mirror. A call light chimed. Naomi stood. Duty calls. Mina followed her back onto the floor. A young patient looked up as Mina adjusted his blanket. Are you the nurse who saved everyone? Mina smiled gently. I'm just a nurse who showed up. He nodded, satisfied. As the night settled in, Harborview moved like a practiced breath. Inhale, exhale. Mina felt the familiar pull of readiness, not the old restlessness, not the need to hide. She belonged here, and beyond it. She picked up the document Caldwell had given her, folded it once, and slipped it into her pocket. Some decisions didn't need to be rushed. They needed to be lived. Morning came softly to Harborview. No alarms, no rush of gurneys colliding at the doors. Just the steady rhythm of a hospital doing its quiet, essential work. The kind of morning that didn't announce itself, but meant everything to the people who made it through the night. Mina Tran stood by the window of the staff lounge, watching sunlight spill across the parking lot. She held the folded document Caldwell had given her 2 days earlier. She hadn't signed it yet. Some choices didn't need pressure. They needed honesty. Behind her, the door opened. Logan Price stepped in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "I wasn't sure how you take it," he said, "so I didn't get fancy." Mina smiled faintly. "That's fine." They stood side by side in silence, the city waking up below them. "I used to think leadership meant control," Logan said finally. "Being the loudest voice in the room." Mina didn't interrupt. "Turns out," he continued, "it's knowing when to shut up." She glanced at him. "You learned fast." He shrugged. "I had a good example." Logan nodded toward the paper in her hand. "So, are you staying?" Mina unfolded the document slowly. "I am." Relief crossed his face, then caution. "And the other calls?" "I'm not disappearing," Mina said. "I'm anchoring." She looked back out the window. "This place matters, not because of titles, because of what it can become." Later that day, the staff gathered near the nurses' station. Caldwell cleared his throat, uncomfortable with attention, but determined. "Effective immediately," he announced, "Mina Tran will serve as Harborview's emergency operations liaison." A murmur rippled through the room. Not surprise this time, but approval. Mina stepped forward. She didn't raise her voice. "I won't change how you do your jobs," she said. "I'll change how we do them together." She looked at Naomi, at the interns, at Logan. "We speak up. We listen. We protect each other, and the people who trust us with their lives." Heads nodded. Someone clapped, then another. The ER didn't erupt into applause. It settled into purpose. That evening, a patient arrived. Elderly woman, shortness of breath, frightened eyes. Mina knelt beside her, explained every step, stayed until the panic eased. "You're very calm," the woman whispered. Mina smiled. "I've learned that calm is contagious." As the shift wound down, Mina walked through the department one last time. She saw Naomi teaching, Logan consulting instead of commanding, new nurses asking questions without fear. Harborview remembered, and so did she. Before leaving, Mina returned to the locker room. She removed her badge, studied it for a moment, then clipped it back on. Same badge, same scrubs, different meaning. Outside, night settled gently over the city. Mina paused by her car, phone buzzing once in her pocket. A message. "On standby if you ever need us," she typed back. "Same." Mina looked up at the hospital, at the lights in the windows, each one a small story unfolding. She had spent months making herself invisible, believing that was the safest way to exist. She understood now. Visibility wasn't about being seen. It was about showing up and staying. Mina got into her car and drove home, not toward something unknown, but toward a future she had chosen. Not because she was needed everywhere, but because she mattered here.